Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the All Systems Go podcast. I'm your host, Chris L. Davis, and today we're going to discuss a topic that is extremely important in today's day and age. You know, we're in a time where email deliverability, security, list growth, all of these things are paramount. There was a day and age where you would be kind of like a unicorn if you knew these terms and were doing these things, but now it's really more tongue in cheek for the regular business owner and digital marketer. And along with that comes a responsibility to make sure that you can properly manage people based on their preferences. And that's what we're going to be discussing today, a new software that I'm looking forward to you meeting the founder and the software of. And our guest for today is Shaun Pereira. And at just 25 years young, Shaun is already making waves as a visionary entrepreneur with a proven track record as the founder of a contact sharing company, which he successfully sold. Shaun now leads Email Pref, the software that we'll be talking about today, as a CEO, and he's passionate about simplifying user preferences while empowering businesses to gain deeper insights into their users. When he's not revolutionizing the tech world, you can find him enjoying a cup of coffee or cheering his favorite football team on the weekends. Shaun, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you. How you doing?
Thank you so much, Chris, for this invitation. All good here. Just bad weather in Amsterdam right now, but excited for this podcast.
Yes. And I want to give people some quick insight on how we connected. Um, I actually can't remember how I learned how I learned of the software, but the minute I saw what it could do, especially and specifically for ActiveCampaign, it was a no-brainer. You were very receptive of my outreach, and we connected. You shared the vision for the software to me. I caught the vision immediately, and I was like, oh my goodness, all my years there, all of the customer complaints and I think tanks that we had internally of things we can do. And thankfully somebody finally took the sword, took the flag, I'll say, and went to the finish line with it. And now we have Email Pref. So let us know, Shaun, where did the idea of Email Pref come from?
So, to take a step back before that, actually, before Preference Center, we were just simply an unsubscribed link. And as you
Mm,
know, all companies believe in innovation and all. That's what we also actually strongly believe in at our company. So, our founder's vision was basically to keep something really simple for the end customer to use, since he wanted non-technical and technical users to set up email prep and in an easy way. So going back again, we started with an unsubscribe link. And when I was speaking to customers who were sending out cold emails, that's when I realized, oh, people actually ask for a beautiful preference center. There's no actually software which can actually help customer like businesses create a beautiful preference center where they can include their logo, favicon, and decide the list they want to show on the preference center.
mm,
So with that, we just started with a small POC and we targeted the campaign monitor first. The response was really good. And one of the campaign monitors actually used ActiveCampaign. And they told us they're switching. And that's how they told us, oh, could you make a preference center for ActiveCampaign? So we made a preference center for ActiveCampaign. And that's when we realized the user told us that, oh, like ActiveCampaign does not have a preference center. It's just a hack.
mm.
So this is where we learned and we pivoted Email Pref into complementing ActiveCampaign in having a whole grown preference center for all the ActiveCampaign users.
Love it, love it. And just so everybody is tracking on the same plane here, when we talk about preference centers, think about when you send an email, or how about this? Think about when you receive an email and you click that unsubscribe, or perhaps they have a update your preferences or your subscription button at the bottom, at the footer of the email. You click it, and it takes you to this page. Shake of the dice. If it's a well optimized page or what, sometimes you click it and it's just like your settings have been saved, and you're like, what settings? But usually, if the software does it right, there's a page where it will show all of the lists or all of the types of messaging that you're subscribed to. So because what happens often, Shaun, is that I opt in to something, a contact may opt in for something, but they don't know all the lists that they're being added to. They don't know the back end messaging structure and setup. So a lot of times when you click on that unsubscribe link or update, it's your first time seeing all of the things that you've been subscribed to. And now I can select and say, hey, I don't want this, but I want this, or hey, remove me from everything. So this is the software that Shaun has built, Shaun and his company have built, that integrates so tightly with ActiveCampaign. As before that, I think you had to do like an ActiveCampaign form with lists, and it was limited to lists. So in comes email pref, and just describe to us how you handle the preference page building and then the association with lists and tags and things of that nature.
So let me just jump in and share my screen pretty quick, and I can just show them a setup if that works.
Yes.
So this is on the left-hand side, as you see, it's my email pref dashboard, and on the right-hand side, it's my ActiveCampaign sandbox. So I'll jump through stuff really quick here since I just want to show you an overview. So right now, I'll just add the integration with ActiveCampaign. So I'll click on Add the Integration and click on ActiveCampaign. I'll just create Shaun Podcast. I'll just write Shaun Podcast here. And we ask for your API key and URL. This is for a secure integration. You can find that information under settings on your ActiveCampaign sandbox, which is on the developer. I'll reset my API key and URL after this. So
Yes.
just to be safe.
For those of you watching video, it will not work if you try. For those of you listening,
Yeah,
Shaun is just showing your regular interface of going into ActiveCampaign, grabbing your API key, putting it into email pref, and that's what's going to authorize that initial connection to allow it to start to read data from ActiveCampaign.
perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to mention. And we also have enterprise security. So this adds a UUID as a custom field on ActiveCampaign. This is only for enterprise levels currently. So I'll just
Okay.
click accept, and this will give me a pop-up saying, sit back and relax while we are syncing all your lists. So this is what I really want to emphasize on. Sit back and relax. This is where email pref actually starts the work. So
Mm.
I'll just show you my list from ActiveCampaign right now. If I just go to Sandbox and click list, I can see all my lists from ActiveCampaign here on the right-hand side. So now when email pref starts the work, if I show you the list tab on email pref, this fetches all your lists and tags from
Yes,
ActiveCampaign
yes, yes.
and gets it to email pref. So this is where the customer does not have to do anything, does not have to create a sync, does not have to create a bidirectional sync, not a one-way sync, nothing. All they have to do is create an integration. This is how easy we are making it for users right now. And the last step is on the email pref, creating actions. So we also create default actions for users. So any page made on the preference page, we send it back to ActiveCampaign in real time for real-time updates between ActiveCampaign and email pref.
Yes, yes.
So the last step,
Yep, keep going, keep
go ahead,
going.
Chris.
No, I
Okay,
drive this thing.
perfect. So the last step, Chris, which everyone has actually been waiting for, see, is create your preference page. So we've kept it really simple. I'll just click create page right here. And we ask you for particular data to keep the preference page as per your brand guidelines. So your company name, I'll just put Shaun here pretty quick. And here we have path. So the main reason
Mm.
we have kept a path is because we allow you to create multiple preference pages. So say you have different target markets, different target audiences, you can have a different preference page for all those target audiences, keeping it simpler for your audiences also at the same time. So I'll just keep preferences here pretty quick. And we also have logo and favicon to customize the page completely. So we also have customize a page where you can change the colors, which is really simple. If you click on the color, it'll change, and you can also change the button color. The most interesting part is the list. Email pref gives you two predefined lists, but I'll just delete this since I'm showing you an ActiveCampaign integration completely. So I'll delete this and click add list. So we give you a drop down and a search bar also at the same time. So now if I click on the drop down, it'll show me the list from ActiveCampaign specifically.
Mm.
So if you see here the list, I see all the lists on my left, and on the right an ActiveCampaign, I can see all the lists. So let's just say I'll select master contact list. Okay. And right now I can change the name on email pref. So the master contact list is on ActiveCampaign. But what I want to show the customer is what I can define in the name and description to help the users understand what types of emails they want to receive and when. So this helps you segment your users basically. So I'll just keep master contact list and I'll just add members only here just to give an understanding. So you can change the description to whatever you like. And description, I'll keep member news. Member news and save. I'll add another list, which is, well, Chris, which list do you want? Marketing or newsletters?
Let's do newsletters.
Newsletters. Okay. Shall I keep it automation bridge newsletters?
Yes.
Automation bridge news. I'll just keep automation bridge news for now. So you can keep the description as per whatever you want, just to make it clear for your audience what they're subscribing to or what they're unsubscribing from, and save. So I'll just add another list also, which is sales, and just keep it one-on-one just to understand what's happening, and save. So as you
Yep.
can see on the right, we already have a preview of our preference page.
So
And the
let
last thing
me
is
let me
advanced.
catch everyone up real quick, Shaun, as you're moving.
Sure.
What's happening, and for those of you listening, you're just like, oh wow, this is it sounds cool. He's synced ActiveCampaign with email pref. It has pulled in all of the lists from ActiveCampaign. So check mark there. However, one of the things that email pref allows you to do is create various preference pages. So you may have a preference page for leads, maybe a different one for customers, maybe a different one for partners, right? Just to give a different experience, and you can set up different lists that they can be a part of or not. Now, email pref has lists that can connect to ActiveCampaign lists, tags, or custom fields, right? I think all
Yes,
three
tags.
now, Shaun.
Currently,
Yeah, or just tags.
currently tags. Currently
Yes,
tags and list. We are working on custom
tags and
fields.
lists. Yes. So what you're doing is you're creating your you. So this may be a little confusing for people because they're like, but here are my lists. What is a list in ActiveCampaign and email pref when I'd already synced my list? Why am I creating more? This is the override that you've been waiting for. Now you can say, okay, I have a main list, but I really have 3 topics that I mail on for that main list. Well, those 3 things, I have a main list. I send a newsletter, I send a podcast announcement, and I send webinar updates. Well, I can create in ActiveCampaign, those are just tags, right? That create segments. So now in email pref, I can create lists that are connected with those tags. And now when someone, as you see on the screen, when someone clicks the toggle to say, hey, I want that type of communication, I don't want this type of communication, though it's a list in email pref, it's actually toggling the tag condition and or list condition to add it or remove it to make it true so that you don't have to do anything but continue to send to your list and your segments, and email pref is really handling all the management of your contacts.
I think you hit the nail right on his head. I couldn't have explained it better. But I'll just show that also. We can show the customers about tags also.
Yes.
So I'll just save the preference page right now, and we can show a preview of a preference page here. I'll just take contacts. I'll just take one of my contacts, make it easy for my sandbox.
Yeah, and I'll say this: there's 2 platforms that I commonly unsubscribe from because I get a lot of emails. But the pages that I see the most are HubSpot and Entreport. Entreport are 2 that have a really, I will say, functional unsubscribe experience where it does list everything that you're part of. Haven't seen it with Keep yet, or maybe Klaviyo does it as well. ActiveCampaign doesn't do it. Anyways, so some of you may have already seen pages like this and just didn't realize that that's a preference page.
Exactly. So coming back to the demo itself, what I'm showing right now, after what Chris said, email Flow makes it really easy for you. If you have an integration listed on your dashboard on the preference page, it gives you the link which you can copy and paste in your ActiveCampaign template. So you don't have to do anything. You have to just copy this link and paste it in your ActiveCampaign template. So right now, I'll just take a quick demo with Shaun@yahoo.com. So I'll just put the query string email here, Shaun@yahoo.com, enter. So this will take me to a different page. It'll take me to the preference page. Okay. So now if you see Shaun is subscribed to sales, unsubscribed from newsletter, and unsubscribe from master contact list. Let's see if this is the information shown in ActiveCampaign. So if I go
Yes,
to
yes.
ActiveCampaign and see Shaun is unsubscribed from master contact list, which is the right information, unsubscribed from newsletters, and only subscribe to sales. So this is actually the right information from the preference page. So let's just toggle something off and on the preference page. So let's just play around. Say unsubscribe from sales, subscribe to newsletters, and subscribe to master contact list. And do not forget to save your preference pages, because this is where it gives you a pop-up. Your preferences have been saved. Okay, so I'll just go to ActiveCampaign, refresh this real quick. And if you see, all the information on ActiveCampaign will be relayed in real time. So if you see, I
Beautiful.
unsubscribe from sales, subscribe to master contact list, and now we have newsletters also. So this is how email pref actually functions with ActiveCampaign. Just one last thing, Chris. I just want to show the information relayed from ActiveCampaign to email pref. So say by mistake, if a user subscribed, if you want to change it to ActiveCampaign, I'll just put unsubscribed here.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed this on ActiveCampaign. So now let's see if the information on email pref relays the same in real time. If so, the webhook we have received is a little late. Let me just check this again.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just
And
refresh
while
this.
Shaun is checking that, everyone, what you're seeing or listening to is the live sync when something is taking place in your on email the preference page that you set up. You're saying, hey, the contact is saying, I no longer want this and I no longer want that. We log into ActiveCampaign and it's showing exactly that. So we've got lists in ActiveCampaign integrated with email pref. Email pref has lists that display to the customer. And now the customer is the customer is in full control now of what is taking place in ActiveCampaign in terms of what lists they're on and what type of messaging they receive.
Exactly. And again, Chris, this is a really good use case since I made a change in ActiveCampaign. And as you can see, the change is not live in email pref. So this is basically the webhook from ActiveCampaign has been delayed or come late to us. So this is
Mm-hmm.
where email pref does a nightly sync. So all these errors do not happen. So if that customer has changed the preference for the day, we do have a nightly sync in place, which before the next campaign is sent out, all these preferences are taken in place and it's updated in real time. So this is actually a really good use case what came on this live right
Yes.
now on the podcast.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I'll say this, it's time, everyone, for you to start thinking how to properly manage and maintain your database in a way that now you have a preference page really makes sense, right? So now maybe, and we know it's a little tough. Well, it's very tough right now in ActiveCampaign with segments at the time of recording. Hopefully at the time of you listening, they've made an update or released something. But it's really hard to see those segments. Those who are experienced in the space can have a list and then have tags or custom fields that create segments that people send to. Well, what we've had to do in the past is add a link to the bottom that's above the unsubscribe link and say, hey, if you no longer want this type of communication, click here. And they click here, and then it either removes a tag or updates a custom field or so on. And that segment, and then they're removed from that segment. Well, email pref comes right in and says, hey, look, we got it from here. Just create a page. Tell us what type of communication you would like people to be able to subscribe to or unsubscribe from. And we'll handle all of the tag removal and toggling and list subscription and unsubscription. So really powerful application. And speaking of application, Shaun, what are some of the most prevalent and powerful use cases that you've seen lately or just over the time of customers that use email pref?
So firstly, the use case right now, the major use case what we have is on tags, because what people want to do is add a list in email pref and link it to a particular tag. So this is where they can segment their audience in a really good way. This is actually going
Yes.
over what you said again, but if like a company has not seen this working in real time, so I would like to show that in another video, possibly down the line. But basically, once they see this in real time and live, they're like, wow, this is actually sending real time updates and helping us segment our customers. So, from a business perspective, they are understanding the customers in a better way. And from a user perspective, they are receiving the information they want to receive and not getting spammed by the companies. So this is one of the
Yes.
major use cases. The other one, what we have seen is a spike in people updating preferences, since some people are actually using a lot of lists. One of our
Mm.
big clients actually use a lot of lists. They are over 500K contacts and they use a lot of lists. So they just sent out an email saying that, hey, you guys can update your preferences. And they have 10 different lists. They saw like a 127% spike, which actually customers updated their preferences instead of just unsubscribing from everything. So this actually played a major role in user retention, which the company just came to us. He was like, why did you guys not reach out to us? I feel like we didn't know you guys actually needed this. So here we are
Yes.
right now.
And again, it speaks to the the reality that your contacts don't know. They received an email, went to a landing page, maybe saw your stuff in an ad on social media, and they said, "Oh, I want that," or "Hey, I would like to receive communication around that." They didn't realize that they're also getting other versions, or maybe there's derivatives of that type of messaging. So just because it's a newsletter, they didn't realize that perhaps they're also getting podcast announcements, and maybe they don't want that. Maybe they're like, oh wow, this is great, such added value. I got one thing and I signed up for one and now I'm getting two. As long as your communication is clear. So now when they say, well, look, you know what? I'm tired of getting these announcements. Let me just get out of here. And they think that that's all you are just announced podcast announcements. They say, okay, I'm done. And then they go to this preference page and they say, oh, wait a minute. I didn't realize I could just get the newsletter and not the product updates or podcast announcements. In fact, I actually don't need the newsletter. I just need the product updates, and they're still there. They're still a valuable contact that you can reach and that you can continue to send messaging to, all because you've properly handled the unsubscribe process. So it's really good to hear that a use case of 500,000 contacts were able to, some of those were able to be saved. Speaking of sizes, email pref, is it for businesses of all sizes, or are there a particular sweet spot that's like, hey, you get the most out of this platform if you're this size of database or whatnot, or does it not matter?
To be honest, it does not matter. We want to help all the businesses using ActiveCampaign and other ESPs also at the same time. So we don't want to keep it like, oh, if you're a small business, we won't cater to you. Of course, we will cater to you. We care about you. It's not like we're not going to give you support, but we want you to take the best make the best use out of email prep, even if you're small or big. But if it's solving a use case, we're happy to help you.
Yep. Yep. Well, that's good. Shaun, I have to put myself on display here. And I'm saying this so that everybody can understand that you're not the only ones that struggle. Okay. I was so excited when I got email prep. The first thing that I did, I jumped into my ActiveCampaign account and I was like, I'm ready to go. And I realized, everyone, I had just by the nature of doing things on the fly and updating as you need to, I stepped back and I had committed one of my own cardinal sins, which is never use negative logic. So don't say no to something that has not been done, because then that's yes. No and no equals yes. Confusing every time I even say it. But I realized I was using negative logic. I was using negative logic to do my segmentation, which essentially meant, if you don't have this tag, then send the information. Send the information to you. Or flip it. If you say, I don't want this information, then we tag you as you don't want the information. So in that case, it would invert the logic for email pref. And I'm saying that to say, now is a great time for you to all to start thinking about, how are you managing your preferences. Again, this was email pref didn't exist at the time that I made this decision. And for the team in my execution at the time, it was easier just to apply a tag, and that tag removed them from a segment. So I had to reimagine and redo how we run unsubscribes. For someone just getting started, are there some pointers that you would give that new user, Shaun, to be able to get started in the most clean and streamlined fashion?
So to be honest, I'm not a big user of ActiveCampaign, so I can't advise on this. But
Hmm.
from the customers I've spoken to, a lot of people are using lists and tags at the same time. And when they come to email pref, they just think email pref works with lists. But my first question to them always is, what are you working with? Are you working with lists or tags? And they tell me I'm working with lists, but basically on tags, I'm just using, oh, if this customer clicks on this, probably they're interested in this also. So I was like, okay, so email prep solves a use case on list and tags also at the same time. So basically, what I tell them is first solve a use case on list, and then whenever your use case on list is solved, then jump onto tags. But if you mix, you can also mix it. Doesn't like
Hmm.
that doesn't matter. But it should fit exactly in your workflow and not take time of that business to change the complete workflow. That's what our main goal and perspective is on this right now.
Yeah, and it goes without saying, but worth repeating that your sentiment, a positive sentiment across your email database is going to go a long way. They are cracking down, everyone. We are in the midst of this. Last year they did Apple did a big privacy update. This year Google and Yahoo did a big update with their email deliverability and authenticating your server sending. It is going to be extremely important that you maintain a positive sentiment in relationship with your database, because all of these email providers are looking for that. Hey, are people saying this is spam? Are people unsubscribing at a very high rate? So you want to be able to use tools and leverage tools that allow you to keep that positive sentiment. Instead of somebody saying this is spam, when they unsubscribe, they could say, oh, wait a minute. Actually, I don't want any of it. Goodbye. Because we want the unsubscribe. We don't want the spam complaint. We want the unsubscribe. So this is giving you another layer of clarity to communicate exactly what people are getting. I would like to go to the next level, Shaun, and say, you all on your landing pages or wherever you're getting collecting this information, make sure you are very clear with the communication that they will receive. If at any point, if at any point you're sending them information in addition, say, hey, look, sign up for our daily newsletter. And then there's a promotion that's coming up. And you're like, oh, I want to send everybody who signed up for our daily newsletter. And you didn't explicitly state that they would also receive promotions. Well, make sure you have a tool like Email Pref that now has email promotions attached to either a tag or a list. So when they see it and they say, wait, why are you promoting to me new stuff? I just wanted the newsletter. And they click unsubscribe. They can go to a page and say, oh, yes, I still want the newsletter. Just toggle off these new promotions. So it's a way to protect yourself and maintain positive sentiment in the marketplace for your list. Shaun, what can we? Everybody that has been listening may be excited. Those who are on YouTube following. By the way, if you're not subscribed to the Automation Bridge YouTube channel, where you can see these demos with founders like Shaun when they walk through their software and attend live when I record these, you can do that at automationbridge.com/subscribe. But what do you got in the oven? What's next for email prep? What are the things on the horizon that you've got your binoculars locked into and forging forward for?
So, well, actually, it's what Chris has suggested. Like when I was talking to Chris, he told me he's having a problem with his paid users and unpaid users because Chris has a community where he has paid users and unpaid users. And basically, the problem what Chris was facing, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but the problem he was facing is his paid users wanted to receive more emails from him and wanted to hear more from him, while his unpaid users also wanted to hear from him. But since they're not paying him, he wants to send different emails to his paid users and unpaid users. So this is directly with it coincides with email pref with dynamic list visibility. So you can show and hide list on your preference page depending if that customer has a particular tag of paid or whatever on ActiveCampaign, depending on how you set it up. All this is made on the backend right now, and we are onboarding customers currently right now, and it's really interesting because that's a really cool feature, all because of you, Chris. Actually, thanks to you for that feature, that suggestion, and we're onboarding all the customers right now for that one. And the last one is
Yes.
language support, just for different
Mm.
languages.
Yep, that's good. And I want to say this: the reason why this even came up between Shaun and I was because we often have this misconception of bothering our customers. We don't want to scare them away, Shaun. It's like they gave us money. Don't say anything to them anymore. Just leave them be. And that's actually the opposite of what they want a lot of times. They want to be in the know. They don't want to be left out. If you've got really good content, they're like, "Hey, can I get some of that?" And what I found is that sometimes people will even opt in again with a different email just so they can get the non-customer emails. So they don't want to be left out. So that may be something that's taking place in your business. Now you have a tool to allow you to more easily keep them involved. And if they don't, they can easily say, you know what, I'm fine with just logging in and getting that experience. So, Shaun, I can't thank you enough for stopping by and showing us email prep. Thank you personally for creating this tool. My team is underway working heavily to get this implemented. So by the time you all hear this podcast, if you have an email from me and you hit update, you should see a nice email prep page with my logo at the top. Now you know where it came from, and now you know the founder. So for those that want to learn more about email prep, get set up, what's the pricing structure, where can they go to find out more and get an account started?
Everything's live on the website. It's on emailpref.com and everything's live on the website. Shall I just pop up the website real quick? If
Sure.
so. Okay, it's on my screen right now. You'll be able to see it. So if you just pop on the pricing, our pricing's live on the website at the bottom, which is we have essentials, which is up to 5,000 users. That's $10 a month. And we have different features. So our most popular one is the Pro. This is basically because what I mentioned, Chris, actually dynamic list, show and hide. A lot of people are opting into this. And we have a lot of users on the Plus plan and Enterprise. Enterprise is customers with more than 100K users. So we have 10 customers right now on Enterprise and a lot of people on Plus right now, the Plus tier. So this is the pricing right now. Don't
Okay.
forget to use Chris's code. You guys will get a discount. Chris, if you can mention about your code on that one.
Yes. I
It's
think it's
automation.
just Automation Bridge. Yeah.
Yes, it's just automation bridge. So
Yep.
use Chris's code and you guys will get a discount for that one.
Yes. And everybody, the code is in the show notes. It's hyperlink. You can just click it or copy it, go and get your discount with email prep. It will be a great benefit to me just to show Shaun, like, hey, my listeners, they don't just listen, they take action, Shaun. Look, you're making a difference with your software. So greatly appreciated. I can't thank you enough for the hard work and labor. And I just hope that this is one of those tools, especially for ActiveCampaign users, that really gets a high adoption rate because we really need to protect our database. And if I'm being honest, those price increases haven't felt the best for a lot of users. So if you want to trim the fat and make sure that you only have the people that really want to hear from you and they're aligned with the right messaging, you've got a tool like Email Pref to help you. Shaun, thank you so much again for jumping online, man, and recording this podcast with me. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris, for this invitation. Looking forward to everyone who creates a preference page at the email pref.
Yes, absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. And until next time, I see you online. Automate responsibly, my friends.